Have you ever thought just how boring or ridiculous news commentary is today? Welcome to the Real Jacks Podcast with Jim and Larry. The Real Jacks Podcast. From crime and politics to entertainment, you can expect something different. Now, let's get real, Jacks.
Real Jacks with Jim and Larry is brought to you by
Extreme Wings, 4 convenient locations, family sports restaurant and grill, more than just wings. Tremendous Barbecue, open since 2007, 8927 Hurlong Road, open 11 to 8, Tuesday through Saturday, and Sunday 11 to 3. Full barbecue menu, everything homemade, they cater anything, and they love first responders. Advanced Window Tint, 5024 Sunbeam Road, over 26 years experience. 3M Platinum Dealer, highest level of 3M dealer around. They tint vehicles, homes, and businesses. Secure One Protection Services, number one choice for protection since 1986. 356-1111. D-Way Towing, 100 South Jackson Avenue. Phone number is 904-356-3929. They take care of all your towing needs. See our friend Doug Dixon. Shannon Judge with Legends of Real Estate. Shannon Judge Real Estate at gmail.com. Phone number is 904-200-8158. Bounceroo Fun, Mike Kellum, former JSO and Friends, the owner. Serving North Florida for over 15 years and over 10,000 parties. Bounceroo offers a large selection of inflatable hoppers, water slides, interactive games, concessions, and frozen drinks. They offer large event tents, tables, and chairs. There's always discounts to first responder. If you rent on the weekend, you keep the equipment the whole weekend. Norman Brewer for Jacksonville District 11 City Council. We need fighters that will truly represent us on the City Council. Norman Brewer is that guy. He's a constitutional conservative, former law enforcement officer, successful businessman. Norm will call it like he sees it, and you will have no better advocate on the council.
Hey, welcome back to Real Jacks with Jim, Larry, and Crawfish. We're back again.
With Marine Corps former Lieutenant Colonel Stu Scheller. Gotcha.
You got it. Thank you. Thank you. I twisted that around a few times.
Jim.
Yeah, quick. Yeah, appreciate that.
I didn't even think about it.
So, Jim rabbit holed a few times on the couple last episodes, but we're going to talk about why Stu's pretty damn famous, like all over the world now, and why he's here. And we're going to sit back, and he's just going to tell you the story.
Yeah. Thanks, guys. Yeah, so we already kind of talked about in one of the previous episodes my experience, just recap, 17-year lieutenant colonel in the Marine Corps, infantry officer. And during the Afghanistan evacuation, I posted a video to my Facebook and LinkedIn demanding accountability of my senior leaders. It was something that was very personal to me. I understood at the time that there would be ramifications for the video. I even articulated in it. I understand I'm risking my job, my retirement, my family stability, right? So I'd obviously thought through it. I knew that no senior leaders would be held accountable, but I decided to make that video anyway because it was that important to me. I made it in my office in my camis because it was one of those things where I chose not to go through the processes because I knew they would be stifled. I elaborated in my book some of the processes that I went through. When you're trying to indict senior leaders and demand something from senior leaders, going through the processes are just not going to work. So I asked myself what would have the maximum effect, and I thought going public with it would. And if I was going to go public with it, I might as well do it in my camis from my office, right? Go for broke. And so that's what I decided to do. And so I posted it the day that the suicide attack happened in Kabul. It was 26 August. It was a Thursday. And when I came into work the next day, I was fired by my commanding officer. And so I assumed that there would be an investigation, they'd sit me down, but they decided to move quickly and remove me. And you got to understand, the videos that I posted at that point got, 40, 50, 60,000 shares, hundreds of thousands of likes, and they had been picked up by all the news media. Like even CNN was running it, Fox News was banner headline, and all the other stations in between. So everyone knew about it. The commandant's office knew about it. I even, later, after I got out of the military, know that the chairman of the Joint Chiefs, Milley, knew about it because his sergeant major knows a guy that I know. And that guy called this guy and was like, hey, what do you think we should do about this, Lieutenant Colonel Scheller? And my friend advised, I wouldn't do anything, otherwise you're going to make him a martyr. And that's not the route they took. And in fact, that sergeant major called my friend.
They decided to make an example out of you instead.
At the end of it, and was like, "Man, you were right." So they tried to essentially, exactly, make an example of me.
Yeah. So nobody else would do the same thing.
That's exactly right. So not only did they fire me, they also made a public statement that no one would like or share my stuff. They had an immediate stand down across the military where they had small group discussions to talk about why my actions were inappropriate, like every service.
Do you think the fact that you wore your camis was a big difference in what happened?
I mean, I acknowledged...
It's like you're representing.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I acknowledged in the video that I was risking things. Like I knew I was breaking the rules. But I felt like by breaking the rules, I was outweighing... like the benefit of the conversation and senior leaders accepting accountability was more important than the rules that I was breaking. That was the calculation that I made. So that's why I wore my camis. I wanted the maximum effect. I wanted the conversation to happen because the Commandant had released a white letter, the Pentagon had released a white letter, and essentially they were saying that people struggling with the Afghanistan evacuation were having mental problems and needed to go seek PTSD treatment and that their sacrifices were worth it without ever addressing failures at the leadership level. And that's why people were struggling. So they either just didn't get it or they didn't care. But either way, they weren't advocating for the service members. And somebody needed to do that. And I just felt like a gunny or a staff sergeant that had posted the same video wouldn't have the effect of a senior officer. And I knew I wasn't going to get it from the general officers, but a lieutenant colonel battalion commander in his office is still, that's pretty up there, I was probably the highest ranking guy. I am the highest ranking guy that had the balls to say what needed to be said. And so after I got relieved, I still didn't plan on resigning at that point. I was upset that they relieved me so quickly. And then I had former bosses that got on my social media and publicly shamed me, said that I should resign if I had any honor. I was cowardly. And these guys have my phone number, my email, and just chose to kind of shame me. So that further angered me. It made me feel like the system didn't care about me. No one was addressing the content of what I said. They wouldn't even let an investigation take place. General McKenzie just killed nothing but children and civilians. And they were not going to fire him. They were going to allow an investigation to take place, which they then later determined, yeah, he did all that, but we're not going to fire him. For me, for publicly demanding accountability, we're not going to have a second thought. You're gone. You're done. And I even addressed that in my video. It's like the battalion commander can have the simplest live fire incident or equal opportunity complaint. Boom, they're fired. But a senior officer can lose a war, and there's not even an investigation that's initiated.
No accountability, yeah.
And so it's just so frustrating. And I go back to the other shows that we had. We haven't won a war since World War II. We just consistently fail. And that's just a fact. The question is, can we get more effective if we don't actually address these failures? And you only can address the failures if the senior leaders have the courage to admit that they're wrong. And no one is calling them out on it. So after people started really questioning my honor, that was that probably emotionally hurt me more than anything else because my honor is more important to me than anything. I feel like I've served with honor for 17 years. And when I have people that are close to me, that know me, that have my phone number, that have my email, that they know I've just been fired. And if they cared about me at all, they would call and say, hey, I know you got fired. And even if they disagreed with me, they would care about me as a human being. Not one of them did that. Not one. Mm-hmm. And that's when I went through that weekend, I kind of came to the realization, they don't care about me. They legitimately, they care more about protecting the image of the system than they do about me as a person and the sacrifices that I've made. And so that's when I decided that Saturday night, I'm resigning. I don't care about the money. Everything I've done up to this point has been about America, about love of country, about leaving this place, this world, a better place. And for them to think that they can treat me like this because I'm so worried about my retirement, they've miscalculated. I am stronger than that. So I went that Sunday and I have a farm. I have a 50-acre farm. I've got 2 abandoned school buses that I partner with a veteran nonprofit, and we bring people out there to talk about PTSD. And so I got on one of the school buses and I made a video saying I was going to resign. I said I appreciated the debate. And I've gone back and watched the video a couple times now because I wrote a book and I had to go through all the words. And the words, everything I said in there is actually on point, very good. But at the very end, I get emotional, and I was follow me and we'll bring the whole fucking system down. I was very angry and emotional, and I wish I could go back and tweak that verbiage. But that's the only little phrase that people can use to describe me. That was a 10-minute video.
Is this after you've told them you're going to resign?
No, this is like where I basically say I'm going to resign.
Gotcha.
So
Okay.
over 10 minutes, I say like a lot of really good things. I say, if you would have just addressed the content of my statements, I would have gone back into the rank and file and I submitted. All I asked for was accountability. And all you've done is consistently bully me, try to silence me. No one's addressing what I'm saying. You know, I talked about I have been around burn pits, you know, for years, and I'm not a victim. All I've wanted to do is serve my country. So I say like all these good things, but because I said I want to bring the whole fucking system down, it was like, oh, there he is.
I did it.
He's fucking lost it. He's crazy. Look, we told you he was crazy. Look, he's crazy. Like, did you watch the video?
Lock him up.
And so I got done with that video, and then my regiment XO called me and was like, hey, man, are you suicidal? I'm going to come get you. And I'm like, I'm not suicidal, bro. Like, I'm talking to you. I'm at Starbucks right now. Like, I'm getting a mocha. I'm going to get the mocha, and then I'm going to go home. And he's like, no, man, I'm going to come get you. And this back and forth went on for like 10 minutes. And finally, I got frustrated. I'm like,
This is your XO?
this is another lieutenant colonel. And I was like,
were y'all pretty tight?
no.
No. Okay. All right. Someone called him and said, you better go get his ass.
That's right.
Gotcha. Okay.
So finally, I got to a point where I was like, bro, I got my mocha. I'm walking to my truck at this point. I'm not suicidal. I answered your call out of professional courtesy. I've stayed on the phone for 10 minutes. I'm ending this phone conversation now. And I hung up on him. And he quotes that conversation in the investigation. He was like, you know, after he says 5 minutes, I feel like it was like a 10 to 20 minute conversation. But, you know, that's
was that disband a direct order?
No, because he's my rank. He's not. Okay. He's not my commanding officer.
Oh, gotcha.
But he was like, Stu was so rude. He hung up on me and like doesn't go into like how we had to like keep repeating. Are you suicidal? I'm not suicidal. Are you suicidal? I'm not suicidal. You know, like how many times can you do that? But then in the investigation, he's like, he was so rude. He hung up on me, and I was like, oh, dude, like, we're not gonna give any context to that, huh? Okay. And so then I go and I just don't have the like. I don't want to go into all the stuff with my ex-wife, but that's where it went off the rails with my ex-wife. She threw me out of the house. I had to go stay at a motel, and when I was in the hotel, now I'm on my computer.
Are you saying because she didn't support you on this?
Yeah, she was.
She wasn't supportive about all this? You're throwing your career down the toilet.
Yeah.
Yeah, gotcha.
She knew that. I mean, in her defense, after the first video, I didn't talk to her about it, and I posted it, and she was very upset, and she asked me to take it down, and I told her I wasn't taking it down. And she came to grips with that. She knew that I had been fired. She knew her life was going to be different. She knew after I was fired, I asked my boss what was going to happen to me, and he said they're going to send you to Quantico. And so I thought I was going to have to.
Whoa.
I wasn't going to move my family, and so I thought I was going to have to geo-batch, meaning drive back and forth on the weekends from Quantico to Lejeune for 3 years until I got to my retirement. And I kind of explained that to my wife, and that was also kind of the reason I came to the decision that I wanted to resign. Like, I had geo-batched before, and I was like, I'm not living my life for this, for the next 3 years as like a disgraced officer that has to just see his family on the weekends for 3 years, just like clinging on to try to get to this magical retirement. Like, fuck your retirement. So to my wife's defense, she had come to grips with all that. Now, again, this is only in like 48 hours. Like, that was Thursday, Friday, Saturday, maybe 72 hours. And then Sunday, I had posted the second video where now once that second video is posted, it's about a 45-minute drive from my farm back to my house. And she had already seen it. And she had already clearly communicated not to make any more videos. And that was that. Because she knew at this point, like, her mind was Stu threw his career away, but we're still going to get our retirement. It's going to be tough while he's geo-batching, but, you know, everything will still play out after these 3 years. Now, after the second video, like, without talking to her, I unilaterally decided, like, I don't want your retirement, which meant she didn't get a retirement. Mm-hmm. And so it was very tough for her. So we parted ways, and I went to a motel, and then the Marine Corps Public Affairs Office started releasing statements that they were like trying to find me to ensure I wasn't a threat to myself or my family, which was super frustrating because, again, I had that like 10
Had you technically already resigned by then?
Well, I had declared that I was going to resign, but you have to fill out formal paperwork. So in the video, I was like...
Were you AWOL then?
If you hadn't officially...
It was a Sunday. I got you. Okay.
Yep. So it was a Sunday. Like, I was going to go into work on Monday morning. I did go into work on Monday morning, but this is a Sunday. All I did was post a video saying I plan to resign.
Gotcha.
But I did it, like, very passionately. So now I'm in a motel, and the Marine Corps Public Affairs Office is saying that I essentially am suicidal and homicidal towards my family, And it's like, I've had my phone on the entire day. I talked to my XO for 10 minutes. And he's like, I'm not suicidal. Are you suicidal? I'm not suicidal. You know what I mean? And CIS never called me. And so then I'm like, I'm so angry because it's like, if the Marine Corps was trying to find me, they probably could have tried calling me. Like, I'm not a detective, but that seems like the first thing I'd do if I was looking for one of my Marines.
Yeah, where you at?
So now I'm getting more angry by the day because it's like every time I do something, the Marine Corps goes out of its way to like slander me. I show up to work Monday morning. Like I never at one point was late to work or didn't show up to work. Like through all of this, I'm going into work. And I go into work Monday morning, and the first thing they do is the doc comes in, and he tries to give me a mental health evaluation. And he's a lieutenant commander, obesely overweight Navy lieutenant commander. And he comes in, and then I say my office. At this point, I'm relegated to like a temporary office across the hall from the CO, so he can like watch me. So I'm not like in my old office. Like I'm in like the, you're in timeout office. Mm-hmm. So I'm in my timeout office, and this lieutenant commander comes in. He's like, "Sir, I got to give you a mental health evaluation." And I was like, "Doc, get the fuck out of my office." Oh. And he's like, "Okay." And so and he turns around, and I was like, "Shut the door."
Yeah, he's like, he's nuts.
And he slams the door. And I was like, I know I just was like looking at my watch, waiting for the clock because I knew he was going to come back in. And of course, he comes back in with the CO. And the CO was like, I was hoping you were going to volunteer for a mental health evaluation. I was like, well, that's not going to happen. And he's like, and he slid me a piece of paper and was like, I'm ordering you to get a mental health evaluation. And so I was respectful. Okay, sir, that's your order. Like, aye. And so then he had two other lieutenant colonels. One of them was my XO, and then there was another battalion commander. And both these guys are huge dudes. Both were like 6'4". The other battalion commander is an old college football player. He must be like a 300-pound man. And they like escort me as if like I'm gonna like I'm still homicidal. Like I might like kill the duty driver on the way to the mental health evaluation. So like one sits behind me and one sits in front of me, and I'm like kind of like working the angles. Like, am I about to get choked out? Am I gonna try and choke them out? So anyway, we get to the hospital, and then the doc takes me in. And they have to. The other two lieutenant colonels aren't allowed to come in. And I talk to the doctor, and the doctor's like, the doctor comes in. He's like, "Hey, I know who you are." He's like, "All my interns are talking about you. All my nurses are talking about you." And I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "Why are you here?" I was like, "They're trying to slander me, in my opinion." And he's like, "Well, did you say anything?" And I was like, I said I'm going to bring the whole fucking system down. I was like, that seems like a metaphor to me. I'm not a doctor. I didn't threaten anyone. I didn't threaten myself. Like, did anyone watch the video? There's like 10 minutes of good content in there. I was like, nobody sent me to this mental health evaluation. Like, I missed the birth of my first kid. Like, I've seen people killed. I've killed people. Nobody made me get a mental health evaluation after any of that. The only time I was ordered to get a mental health evaluation was when I said my leadership was fucked up and I wanted to resign. Like, what? How? And I'm like telling the doctor this. And I'm like, how does this make sense to you? And he's like kind of giggled. And he was like, yeah. He's like, I don't think you're crazy. And he's like, I'll tell you what. He's like, I'll tell you what I do. He's like, you could stay here for the night and just chill out. And I was like, no fucking way. Yeah. If I just take you up on that offer, that's going to be all over every news channel. Exactly right. I was like, no. I was like, I'm getting the fuck out of here. And he's like, I got you. He's like, I believe everything you just said. He's like, I'll release you. He's like, I'll give you a piece of paper that says if you want to come back. I was like, I'm not coming back, Doc. Look at my face.
So you
not come back.
You passed. On paper, you passed your mental eval.
Of coming in, they let me out, and the lieutenant colonels, I think, expected me to be admitted. Yeah. So they didn't really know what to do. So like, well, what happened? I was like, well, he fucking let me go. And so then I was like, what do we do now? I was like, we go back to work. Yeah. Then we got back in the van, and we get back to work, and my commanding officer now is like now I'm mad. And he's like mad that I didn't get admitted. And so he pulled me in his office, and we're just like staring at each other. And it's like awkward. And so he addresses it by saying, look, I had to make sure you were okay. And then like I just don't even respond. I just stare at him. And so there's like, it's awkward again. Then he's like, okay, what I need you to do now is to continue your out processing, and we will help you with your resignation. I was like, okay. And then that's what happened. Then I walked out, and we started moving forward. And then the next day, so that was on Monday. On Tuesday, I formally submitted my resignation. And then, it played out, and it just they wouldn't let me take leave. Again, I'm going, my wife essentially kicked me out of the house. And then my wife left the house because we had media showing up to the house. She was getting all kinds of weird messages, and she had to take down all her...
From just friends, people?
Yeah.
Well, gotcha. What's going on with Stu?
I alluded to...
What the hell's going on with Stu? Yeah.
I alluded to that she might leave me.
Gotcha.
I could feel it. Like, the writing was on the wall. And so everyone wanted to know. Everyone was like, did she leave him? Like, no one really knew what was happening, but it was like a soap opera playing out online. And so everyone was trying to reach out to her. So she took down all her social media accounts. She like wasn't turning her phone on. She left town. And so I asked my boss, I was like, hey, I got to take leave. Like, I need to go deal with my family situation. He's like, no, you can't take leave until you've done all your final physicals, until you've done your TRS, which is your transition readiness seminar. Like, this stuff is like weeks. This doesn't happen within a day. So you're like, I may be going through a divorce, and you're telling me like I can't take any leave. He's like, no, you can't. It's like, all right.
If you're processing
in my head, there was fuck you. I think I said that with yes sir. Like, there's a way to say yes sir, which is like a fuck you. Like, yes sir, you know. And then I continued.
Yeah, you're at the I don't care point at this point.
Oh, that's right. I already resigned.
Clearly, right.
But like,
I got nothing to lose.
I got nothing to rack up any more charges. Like, fighting with Colonel Emmel was not helpful. He didn't make any of the decisions. The guy that made the decision to fire me was General Alford, the 2-star at Training Command, or potentially even higher. Maybe it was the commandant himself. I don't know. But Colonel Emmel was just like the guy that I argued with on a daily basis. But like, in terms of decision making, he really didn't have any decision making. Yeah.
He was the messenger.
And I knew, so like, I was smart enough to know that, but still, he was like the only person I could yell at. Like, he was the only person I could like vent my frustration, even though I knew it meant nothing. But it made me feel better temporarily. You know, like, there was one time, kind of jumping forward, but there's one time, like, I was on leave and they needed me. It was an adverse fitness report, and they sent it to me, and I have 5 days by the system to sign it. And they're like, hey, we need you to sign it by 1600. It was 1400. I was out doing something. And I was like, well, the order states I have 5 working days, so per the order, I'll get it to you when it's required. And then they came back and they were like, well, if you don't get it done by 1600, you need to be at work at 08 tomorrow. And I was like, I'll see you at 08 tomorrow. So then they went in and canceled my leave. And then I showed up at 08, and I fucking sat there and stared at them. And they're like, you're going to sit at that computer until you endorse the report. So I sat there all day and didn't endorse it. Then at 1600, I left. And then the next day, so now I'm texting my boss, and I was like, sir, I resubmitted my leave. And he's like, your leave has not been approved because you have not done your report. And I was like, what do you want me to do tomorrow? He's like, I want you to sit at your computer until you do your report.
This is a battle of wills going on here.
So I came back in the next day, and I was like, all right, you're going to fuck with me? So I submitted 2 requests mass and 1 IG complaint, and I pushed them to him. I was like, I'm going to need you to endorse all of these. And then I went back and I endorsed the report, and I left. So then the next day, so then I resubmitted leave. And he's like, I didn't approve your leave because you submitted all of these requests mass. I have a certain amount of time in which I have to endorse them, so I need you to come in tomorrow to endorse them. And I was like, okay, well, what time do you want to meet? And he was like, I just need you to come in and sit in your office at 08. So then I text back, to be clear, does that mean you're meeting me at 08? And he's like, the workday starts at 08. And I was like, so to be clear, at 08, you want me out there leading your Marines, and then at a certain point, you're going to text me and let me know what time our meeting is. And he's like, I want you in your office at 08. And I texted back, I'm still unclear what time the meeting is. Can you clarify what time the meeting is? And so, like, these are the stupid fucking games that we were playing. Christ. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And, like, here's another example. Like, my gag order. When I got out of jail, and again, skipping around, my gag order so the first one he gave me was indefinite, which is illegal. And I told him that. I was like, you can't do this. Like, all orders that you give, military protective orders, can only be 30 days in duration. He's like, I can do whatever. He didn't say I didn't. I felt like he said I can do whatever I want, but he was kind of like, no, this is what you're signing, right? So signed it. Went to jail. Came back out. He reissued it to me, and it said 30 days this time.
Hey, back up though.
I'll get to jail.
All right.
I'm bouncing around now.
I'm like, you're going past this jail thing.
I'm just illustrating the silliness.
Okay,
I'll get back to the jail.
Okay, well, we are going to cover it.
So I get out of jail, and he gives me the gag order. This time it says 30 days, and I was like, I didn't say anything. But like, we're kind of looking at each other like, I fucking told you this first time, right? Mm-hmm. So I sign it. 30 days goes by, and it's now November 8th when it expires, so 30 days. And November 10th is the Marine Corps birthday. And so I tell my lawyer, I was like, hey, they didn't fucking reissue the gag order. It states 30 days. Like, I can fucking post about the Marine Corps birthday, right? And he's like, well, no. He's like, and I was like, well, it's 30 days. Like, I didn't fucking do shit. And he's like, well, I recommend that you ask them. I was like, but if we fucking ask them, then they're going to reissue it. And whatever. So I took the advice of my lawyer. I regret it. And of course, they reissue me the gag order. And so they reissue the gag order. And when they send it to me, it says November 8th because that's when they should have reissued it. And now it's November 10th. And so if I can email back and I was like, hey guys, this says November 8th. Today's the 10th. I need you to update the date. And so I sent it back to them. And they sent it back to me with the date. They didn't like retype it. They just like crossed the 10 out and wrote the 8 in with pen and like refotocopied it and sent it to me. And the first time when I sent it back to them, I actually noticed like the day I got out of jail on the thing was wrong too, but I like intentionally didn't point that out the first time. So then the second time I was like, oh, and by the way, like the date in here for when I got out of prison is wrong. Like I want this to be an accurate document. Like I know how much accuracy is like important to you guys. So like if you can update the date. And then they pushed it back to me and they just wrote, said name Marine refused to sign. And I was like, that's not true. Like, I didn't refuse to sign. I just asked you to send me an accurate document. In fact, you guys forgot to reissue it. I reminded you. You couldn't even date it correctly. You had the wrong date I got out of jail. And all I asked for you to do was put it, like, I didn't refuse to sign it. Like, what do you advise I do? And then they just went calm silent and never responded.
Did that create a new charge?
No.
Okay.
But, like, that's the shit I was dealing with, right? So
well, they were clearly fucking with you because you were fucking with them.
That's right.
And so they were going to see who can outfuck the other.
It was
right.
childish games.
Yeah. Well, you weren't going to let them bully you.
Well,
and they were like, well, we're going to bully him.
Yeah.
And you're like, no, you're not. So.
And I know, like, some people listen to that story, they're probably like, Stu, you're being a smartass. And maybe partly I was, but, like, it's hard to wrap your brain around, like, how much, like, bullying, sentimental health, you know, slandering you in the media, and then just, like, expecting you to live up to the standard, but then, like, failing to, like, just reissue a gag order. Like, I'm telling you, it needs to be 30 days. Like, you're not going to listen to me, all right? And then, like, when I remind you to issue me my own consequence, you can't even give me an accurate document. And then when I point it out, you say I refuse to sign it. It's just, it's absurd. And so after I made that second video, it's not going back to the timeline. So that second video, where they made me do all the mental health, and then I publicly resigned, and I actually formally submitted my paperwork. They then like raced to do an investigation, and so the investigation they should have done before they fired me, now they're like racing to do it, and.
You think this is a kind of a CYA thing on their part because they realize, oh shit, we got to make sure.
You mean fired you from your position, not from the military?
Yeah.
Yeah. So right. That's right. It's called relieved, and in the military, the implication is you're never going to get promoted again. But right, you're not kicked out of the military at this point. And so then they offered me a deal that was NJP, and then I have to resign. So it was like NJP, and I have to resign. And I was like, I don't know. And so they offered me that deal without even having completed the investigation. And I asked my lawyer, I was like, have you ever seen the Marine Corps offer a legal deal without an investigation? He was like, no, never. In my 18 years in the military, he's like, we're in a unique circumstance. They just want this to be over.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay. And I didn't listen to the advice of my lawyer. I posted a third video, and then they were real upset.
While you're still active, though.
Yeah, I'm still active.
All right.
I didn't have charges against me at this point.
Right.
Like nothing had.
But
nothing.
you're still owned by the Marine Corps.
That's
at
right.
that time. Okay.
And then after the third video, because the third video, I basically I could tell a war story about killing somebody. I talk about like the mental implications of combat. Because I was trying to illustrate that service members should question their government when they're asked to commit violence. In our current foreign diplomacy model, the nation state has a monopoly on violence, and they can ask you to commit violence, which I think even increases the reason why responsibility should be for senior leaders. And but when I did it, like everyone was like, man, you're starting to sound real crazy. Like, we agree with you your first video, but your second and third one, like, we're not really sure like where you're going with this. And so that's when I had the realization. So they offered me another deal. It was a special court martial if I submit a resignation. And I just was like, nah, I'm not gonna accept your deals. Right?
Does that result in a dishonorable?
All of them,
or is that negotiable?
All of the offers said honorable or general under honorable, which will be determined later.
Okay.
So those offers never actually wavered. And so I was like, I need to bring the message back to accountability. And so in my fourth video, I put my uniform back on. So the second and third video, I was like in my civilian clothes. And I basically said General McKenzie failed. Like the first video we talked about, all those failures, was like General McKenzie should be held accountable. And I'm going to prefer legal charges against him, which is my legal right to do according to the manual for court martial. And
this sounds like the making for a movie.
It does. Yeah, you should read the book.
It reminds me of A Few Good Men.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tom Cruise is a pussy, though.
Yeah. That's a whole nother show.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, and I can't rabbit hole in this show.
Yes, God, please.
But I do want to remind you before we're done with this, let's talk about your book. Go ahead and continue, but let's don't forget to talk about your book.
So after the 4th video, that's when the Marine Corps finally had enough. They put a gag order on me, and to be fair to my command, that was the right thing to do. Like at that point, I had made 4 videos and a couple posts, and they continued to warn me, and I just continued to stop listening because like by the 2nd video, I'd already resigned. No one was addressing the content of my statements. They were trying to paint me as crazy. And the divide was just very wide between the Marine Corps and me. My marriage was falling apart. I couldn't take leave to reconcile. Like I was in a bad place. And so then a week after they issued me the gag order, so this is like a Friday, I knew that General McKenzie, Lloyd Austin, and General Milley were testifying to Congress on Tuesday, Wednesday, respectively. And I read the manual for court-martial, and I knew based on the gag order what the requirements were for me to go to pretrial confinement. And for me to go to pretrial confinement, it required lesser forms of restraint to have been used and for me to be a flight risk. And I'd gone into work every single day. I was like, there's no way you can justify that I'm a flight risk. Lesser forms of restraint, you could potentially argue, but it's not like they restricted me to base ever. It's not like they tried to take my electronics. And I was just like, I don't think they legally have the right.
Your computer and stuff.
Yeah, I don't think they legally have the right to send me to pretrial confinement. And but I was like, even though I surmised that they didn't have the legal right, I assumed that they would try to.
Do you still have your at that time, still had your security clearances and all that, or had they revoked it?
No, I still have my security clearance.
Really? Interesting.
So I made a written post. It was a long post where it was just essentially a fuck you to everybody. Like the last 4 presidents, I was like, all of you suck. I was like, all the academic PhDs, like you don't get it. General Mattis, don't like you. I went down the list. Like everyone that has had a hand in our foreign policy for the last 20 years, like none of you are my heroes, right? And I said in the post, like, here's my gag order, willingly violating it. I'll be at work at 08 on Monday. Have the MPs waiting for me. I'm ready to go to jail. See you there. And the calculation behind the fact was...
You said that in your video?
I said that in my post. This was a written post after I got the gag order. Okay. Yeah, and I did. I was like, have the MPs waiting for me at 08 on Monday. I'm ready to go to jail. The calculation behind it was if they do overreact and send me to jail, 1, it's going to make them look bad because they legally don't have the right. And number 2, then the generals have to go and testify to Congress. With me in jail, it's going to bring a lot more attention to the situation. And it's a good strategy. And so that's what I did. And sure enough, Monday 08, they had the MPs waiting for me, and I went to jail, and they put on the documentation that I was a flight risk, right? Just like outwardly lied. And so went to jail, spent 9 days, and was in a solitary cell. A lot of me time, a lot of stew time, and
a lot of time to rethink all this.
That's right, all those decisions. But you do get an hour of TV time in jail. And during my hour of TV time, we turned on Fox News, and they were talking about me. It was like surreal. Hey. And in the special quarters, your TV time, the rest of the prisoners can hear it, even though they can't see it. And when they were talking about me, I was like, oh my God.
Re-energized you.
Everyone in the little special quarters was like all screaming. It was like, I mean, it was a surreal moment. So we were all like hooting and hollering in like the solitary cell area. So like I knew I had been effective kind of with my plan. And so then they essentially offered me the same deal that I had decided I didn't want a week ago. At this point, I was like, what else am I going to do? Like, it's time to move on with my life. And so I had one choice, accept special court-martial, 5 charges, plead guilty to all of them, get out of jail, and then be able to resign and move on, leave no retirement. Or I go to general court-martial, same 5 charges. If I'm found guilty of 1, it's a dishonorable discharge, and it's like a felony, right? It follows you forever.
Wow.
And so, quite honestly, I think I would have won a general court-martial. The other catch was I would have had to sit in jail for 6 months while we waited for the general court-martial, which I wasn't really worried about. I mean, I don't mind jail. I like to read. I like to write. And I'd have been all right. But I wanted to show the generals also what accountability looked like, right? So I knew I had broken the rules, and I wasn't trying to beat them. And so at the end of the day, like, my message was the most important thing. So if I was willing to accept accountability, I could look at the generals and say, like, look, I was prepared to do it. I didn't apologize for anything, but I accepted accountability. I moved on with my life, and, like, you guys are too cowardly to do the same thing. No one along this way has addressed the content of my statements. You holistically failed in every respect when it came to the Afghanistan evacuation. And so that's what I did, and got out on Christmas Eve.
Do you hear from them?
What's that?
Total time that you were in there?
9 days.
Oh, just 9 days.
So, yeah, they offered me the deal on, like, the 9th day, which released me from jail when I accepted it. And then 5 days later, they did my court-martial. And then it took, like, 3 months to actually process me out.
Oh, okay.
So there was a time after the court-martial where I was just, like, sitting in purgatory. And the big play there was we were all hoping that I was going to get an honorable discharge because, again, all the deals were honorable or general other than honorable. And, of course, they gave me the lower one. They gave me the general under honorable. And all that did was really prevents me from going into, like, the reserves of the National Guard to try and, like, get my retirement through other means.
Yeah.
So they basically stuck a roadblock to ensure that I don't get my retirement.
Right.
But other than that,
a little bit of punishment there.
Yeah, other than that, it doesn't really impact anything. And there's ways to upgrade that through the appeal process, and I'll probably go through that. But
Absolutely.
at the end of the day, I was so ready to move on. And
So now that you've been completely severed, and you're out on the public circuit like this, you hear from any of them or any government officials at all?
I've had some I won't give details, but I've had some very senior enlisted reach out to me that some of them I've served with, some of them I haven't.
In a supportive manner?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah.
But no senior officers, not a single one. Lots of company grade officers, lots of younger officers, almost all the enlisted.
Well, just because they're not reaching out doesn't mean they don't support you. They're probably afraid that if they support you, it'll get back to their higher ups and then they'll be in the shitter. So
no doubt.
They're probably secretly going, "Fuck, he's my fucking hero, man.
Yeah.
He's my hero." But they can't call you up and say that.
Well, they could.
They could.
If they had balls.
Yeah, that's what this is all about. That's what this whole thing's all about.
That's right.
Right.
But it paid a big price.
Yeah.
I did, man.
In many respects.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the example you set for a bunch of people, that's all
man,
this. There's going to be a lot more stand-up guys.
Laying on your feet. I mean, you got a college degree. You can do a lot. And obviously the book and all that will lead to something. But that's it's still...
At the end of the day, like, you only get one life, right? So when you look back on your life,
do the right thing.
You can hide behind the stability of everything, retirement, family, security, but, like, I've always just wanted to make a positive impact in the world and leave it a better place, and I didn't anticipate everything that was going to happen when I made that first video. It was one of those things that just kind of kept escalating.
But you knew you were creating a shitstorm.
I did.
You knew it.
I did.
Yeah.
And you knew
what the consequences are.
I did.
The irony
like
was
I said,
you're willing to accept that you created a shitstorm.
That's right.
None of them have.
That's right.
Yeah.
But you didn't compromise your integrity or your character. That's the bottom line.
No, and I honestly, I do believe that most of them thought that this would destroy me and it would make an example out of me. They didn't expect me to kind of come out of this even stronger.
They expect you to fringe and come apart and unravel and
that's right.
look like the crazy dude.
That's right.
Left
I
field.
think they thought that that's what was going to happen.
Yeah, they did.
And now, kind of like that story I told about the chairman of the Joint Chiefs Sergeant Majors at the end when they're kind of seeing, holy shit, no, this guy's still standing. He's hitting the circuit and he's writing books and he's halfway intelligent. Maybe we should have played this differently.
Yeah. We should rehire him.
Yeah.
They're like, we fucked up, man. We should. This is the kind of guy we need in here.
Let's bring him back
with this guy. Let's bring him back in and just move him right up to general.
Like Captain America, sell some government bonds.
Did they release any kind of formal statement when all this was done about former Lieutenant Colonel?
No, actually, it's funny you say that because
they say that there was no grand finale to the media about you or anything.
Once I got out, because I was for those 3 months after my court-martial, it was so hard not to speak because all these people were talking shit. The Marine Corps released my investigation of my medical records to selective media stations so that they could pick apart certain aspects and just paint me in the light that they wanted to. And like they're using all these tactics, and I couldn't speak. Wow. Right. It was like torture. It was like the hardest thing
because of the court-martial.
Yeah, the deal was like if you make one post, you go back to jail and not for 9 days.
That was a temporary gag, though, right?
What's that?
That was like a temporary gag.
No, remember that story I told about like the gag order expiring and me reminding them? That was after my court-martial. It's like I was on gag order renewed,
but
every
still
30
in the
days,
military.
but still in the military until I was formally discharged. And
that's 30 days. That's 30 days.
Every 30 days they renewed it. So it went on for like 4 months. So
they kept renewing
4
it.
renewals of it.
I got you.
Yeah.
Well, they figured by then it'll be kind of stale after 4 months. It's going to kind of die down, so they kept renewing it.
Really wanted to just make another video just to see, like, can you legally enforce a 4-month-old gag order? But at that point, we all just wanted to move on.
It's funny when they got smart people that understand policy better than they do. JSO used to send out memorandums. Memorandums into policy are no longer, they're good. They're only good for 30 days. But they'd say, this will stay in effect until a policy. No, it won't. It's on a memorandum. It's only good for 30 days. You can't say it's going to stay in effect until policy changes. It's not how it works. But
yeah, I mean, a lot of people, we kind of touched on the processes, and they're like, why didn't you talk to your commanding officer? Colonel Emmel was an infantry officer for 30 years, and he's never been to Afghanistan. And we've been in Afghanistan for 20 of those 30 years. Like, you got to, like, really try hard to avoid that. And so, I don't know. I didn't get along with him. I just
was he commanding from Washington the whole time, or wherever he was?
Knows.
Who knows?
I didn't know the guy real well.
Wow.
He was getting the coffee and donuts. He was busy.
He probably made a mean PowerPoint slide.
Oh, you know, this PowerPoint's really important. Death by PowerPoint.
Sounds like to me, he on that line we're talking about, he was already done. He was on that other side. That was just, he became one of those people.
Yeah.
But the two main things you want to pull
again
out of this was accountability for that specific incident, and then a greater scheme of how we change the structure of military and politics. Is that
so you asked me to remind you about the book, so that was a good setup for the book. So I wrote a book that I talk about, again, accountability is holding someone responsible for failure, but it doesn't actually address why failure is happening. So the focus of the military should be war fighting. And what happens is, because people are focused on their career and how to navigate their career, it's diverged from a focus of warfighting. And what accountability does is cause a course correction to say, yeah, generals, you're focused on navigating your career, but you should probably also be focused on warfighting, because if you fail a war, you're going to be held accountable. And I feel like that's like the bare minimum of what we should expect. So the book, which you can pre-order through Amazon or AuthenticAmericans.com, my website, it's called Crisis of Command. And I outline probably 8 or 9 reasons as to why the American military is failing. Number one, just being the lack of a warfighting focus, but there's a whole bunch of other reasons in that book. And it just comes down to, we've drifted and we're not focused on the things we should be focused on. And people are afraid to criticize the military. You know, they want to be supportive of the military. And so since Vietnam, it's been absolved of criticism that they need. And there's just no one talking out, because, like we talked about on one of the previous shows, retired generals that criticize have their retirements threatened. So people that have my type of experiences very often don't criticize, because it can come at a great financial risk for them. And so I think the book does a really good job. In fact, I even challenged the future Secretary of Defense on a competition, because, you know, I've been doing this a long time, and I know where all the warfighters are hidden across the United States that haven't conformed to the system. Like, I could build a pickup team and challenge. I say in the book, like, I know how it works. There's it's called DERS reporting, Defense Readiness Reporting. So, like, I can find a unit in every service that, according to the Department of Defense, is completely ready to deploy today based on their own reporting. And I can randomly pick that unit, and I can pick a hodgepodge team of players that I know where they're scattered because they got forced out because they were too much of a warfighter. And I could challenge them in a warfighting competition, and I would fucking destroy them. Right? And if that doesn't illustrate the inability of the system, like, I don't know what else to do.
Let me ask you, under the current administration, current leadership, military leadership, if the shit hit the fan, because, you know, it's kind of teetering. We're like a DEFCON 4, so to speak, right now with everything going on, and Putin gives us the finger and is like, bring it. How do you think it'd work out?
Korea.
How do you think? It's going to be an axis. China's going to join them. North Korea, Iran, all that. It's going to be a group. Them versus us. You know, WW3. How's it going to shake out for the U.S.? We're going to throw down
the tactical level. We have the best military in the world, and
clearly
in the coalition you just described, that's it, right? It runs as far.
And we have the best equipment,
Iran, China, and Russia.
Technology.
But, like, in that scenario, I would assume all of the NATO countries are on our side, and so I think on the tactical level we would win, and I think our political, military senior leaders would figure out a way to fuck it up.
That's what I was waiting to hear.
In the violent moment, our service members are amazing. Like, they've won every tactical battle for, like, decades. They continue to win. Even in Vietnam, like, we look at it as an epic failure. Tactically, like, we were fucking killing it. in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
There was just a consistent operational failures. Now, there's always tactical things you can do better. In every campaign, there's examples of some tactical failures. But holistically, on the tactical level, at the engagement level, the American military will always win. And I hope that continues, but we can't continue down the path that we've been in consistently losing wars based on an ineptitude at the National Security Council level to the 4-star level, because it's crushing morale, it's wasting talent, it's degrading the national power of our foreign diplomacy system, and it's ultimately allowing our competitors to get an advantage over us.
Yeah, they're slowly creeping up, getting better, but we still do have the technology and the equipment. The machine.
Holding a little bit because
because the current administration.
Everyone thinks Russia's got a great military. I was watching a video the other day, and they had 40 armored vehicles, all within 2 feet of each other, moving down the road. And I'll tell you what, if you get that is so 80s style thinking. Right now, we're afraid to move on 3 big ships because of the land to ship missile threat, and so our theory is disperse in small boats, and there's a lot of critical thought to that. If I was a company commander and I was within 20 miles of 40 armored vehicles, kind of all right next to each other, to the point where there's a video camera flying over them, getting video coverage.
Take them out. Take them all out.
I can walk there on foot in 7 hours, I know this, with ammo, and I would fucking have a wet dream and destroy. With a company Marines, it would be done within 7 hours. I would take out every one of those vehicles. And I've done this. I was a weapons company commander, and in weapons company in an infantry battalion, you have the anti-armor capability. And when I was a weapons company commander, the Georgia incident happened. And we did case studies on that. And we talked about how we would do this. And we went through the drills. I have been working through this in my mind for 5 years. And so when I watched how terrible the Russian tactics were, I was like, these guys are fucking clowns.
Yeah.
I would destroy them.
Yeah.
And so we talk about would we win against Russia, China, and Iran? Iran's even bigger clowns than Russia.
Right.
And when I look at how Russia's playing the game right now, bitches, you haven't been in combat for the last 2 decades. I can see it clearly on the video camera. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're not as big and bad as you think you are.
They're not. They're not investing the money in it.
That Afghanistan, when they were in Afghanistan, get their ass kicked for 20 years?
Right.
Yeah.
They sure did.
Yeah.
Yeah. The only advantage if they all got together is they have more troops than us. So what? They're not going to invade the U.S. Everybody in the U.S. is armed. The whole U.S. is armed. Forgetting about the military.
Red Dawn if they have it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Wolverines.
So we'll just sit here with our technology and just lob stuff on their countries, and there's not going to be a hand-to-hand, troop-to-troop kind of battle again. I doubt it.
The thing they're most successful with is cyber attacks. That's probably their biggest.
Yeah.
That doesn't win wars all the time. So
you said the name of your book?
Yeah. So the book is
and where to get it and everything?
Crisis of Command. You can buy it on Amazon, pre-order it, or you can buy it on the website AuthenticAmericans.com. But it won't be out probably until August, September.
Okay. Keep us updated.
Cool.
All right. Anything else?
How's everything else? The personal life, you're smoothing out. Everything's
just going through a divorce.
We need to fix you up with anybody or anything?
I've been living life.
Wife's got some nice friends. Okay.
Don't you worry about me.
Been there, done that. Policeman. Considered a real cop. You at least have one.
No, because I'm joking because of the conversation we were all having in here off air.
Yeah.
I was like, kids, all right? You get to
I do. I have 3
them.
boys,
Oh, do you really?
11, 10, and 7. And, you're just trying to manage the new normal. These events are the hardest on the kids, so trying to stay involved as much as I can and manage the new normal. But, yeah, it's not all bad.
The kids doing okay and all this, though?
I think the kids are about as good as they can be based on the circumstances.
Yeah.
Still dad.
They probably got a hell of a lot of respect for their daddy, though.
Still dad.
Yeah, I think they're just...
If they don't now, they will when they get it.
They're
too
young to really
older.
understand it all. They know they've been hurt by this. They know that there's a divorce because of this. So I think they're still processing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've been through one. My kids were young. They're resilient. It took a while, but mine come back. Some of the things that I said. I'm not so bad. Now when they look forward when they get a little older. So, they'll be okay.
They'll figure it out.
And they got a tough dad. So
well, you'll be a multi-millionaire by then. Anyways, and on your 5th book. So
Well, maybe you can have an influence on the future. Yeah, that's the thing is you reach a generation and those are the ones that come into the government later on in the military, and then they change the way things are made. Because it didn't getting as incompetent as people are didn't happen overnight.
Yeah.
A spoonful at a time. So it takes time to.
You're right.
And Stu, the changes you were trying to affect, or the points you were trying to make. Think of all those people you inspired that are still out there. and they're still attached, but they're thinking. You got them thinking. They're tapping their fingers, going, "Yeah, fuck these guys, man. They're fucking everything up. They're not doing this right." And there's going to be another Stu. There'll be another one. You've inspired people.
Are you where are you living? Are you still?
I'm still in North Carolina.
Jacksonville, North Carolina.
Yeah, just north of it.
Okay. You still got a farm up there?
I do. Yeah, I'm keeping the farm.
Family, like a family farm, like.
It's not like I say farm. It's basically just North Carolina pine trees with 4-wheeler trails.
Well, that's all
Cool.
you need.
Yeah,
That's what I was going to say. I'd never leave the house.
Yeah.
I'd never leave the house.
Is that where you're from originally?
I went to high school and college in Cincinnati, but I've been in North Carolina since '05, so it's my home now.
Were you born there?
I was born in Illinois. I moved around the Midwest a lot as a kid. Ended in Ohio, Cincinnati, Ohio, from 7th through college, and then so I've lived in North Carolina longer than I've lived anywhere else.
Yeah. North Carolina's nice.
I just came back from North Carolina yesterday.
Yeah, man, it's an awesome state. They got the mountains, they got
Been
the
out there
beach,
for a week.
and then pretty conservative, and land's real cheap. And
State income tax, that drives me nuts. Though.
yeah, that's the one rub.
Taxation is theft.
I'll tell you what, they're talking about making the military retirement tax-free. Not relevant to me because I don't have a military
One of
retirement.
those things.
But all the other military people that do retire, that would be a big deal.
Yeah, I still like North. We go to Maggie Valley, Tennessee. I'm always a big fan of Tennessee. If I left Jacksonville, I'd be here my whole life.
Tennessee's a great state.
It'll be in Tennessee or somewhere like that.
Yeah.
I looked out west. I had some friends moved to Wyoming. It's great till winter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When it's 30 below and there's 8 foot of snow and you can't really do much, I'd probably go crazy.
Yeah, me too.
Snowmobile, I could probably get into that, but how much can you get?
I get cabin fever.
You have to get
cabin fever real
a
quick.
skid steer with a snowblower and a plow and a bush hog just to be able to clear your driveway to go to town. That's over the top. But
Yep.
I don't know. It's beautiful out there, but mountains are mountains. I mean, the Rockies are bigger than the Smokies, but I still like Tennessee and North Carolina. I'd be up there in a heartbeat.
Yeah, it's still pretty close to here too. Our place is 500 miles door to door. Either way, it's like right on the money every time.
You're close to where's that?
Where
you at in North Carolina?
Kind of the northwestern part, about an hour above Asheville.
Cool.
So we're kind of over there.
Yeah.
that
Asheville's
area.
beautiful.
Asheville's a beautiful place. Yeah,
Liberal, but beautiful.
very liberal. Yeah, a lot of good beer there though.
Yeah.
Brewed
A lot of
beer.
good wine too.
Yeah, yeah. Hey man, we appreciate you coming.
sounds
I mean, we had a lot of fun.
Yeah. Yeah. We covered a lot.
This
Jim's
was a
been
lot of
worked
fun.
up forever. He's like texted us every day. What about this? What about that? I'm
Yeah.
like,
Well, I was looking forward to having you. I think we all were. He's bullshit. He's bullshit. Yeah, we were all
he's like a
excited.
little kid.
That's awesome.
Larry's calling me at 3:00 in the morning. Man, you want to talk about the show? Well, these guys are up at 3:00 in the morning. I mean, I'm asleep like at 9:00.
I'm a little nocturnal. Not that. 3 o'clock's a little much. It used to be. I was up all night for most of my career.
I get texts from these guys, and they're texting like at midnight. I'm like, I've been asleep for 3 hours. And I get up when the sun comes up.
He works later now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Crawfish does. So it's been great. Thank
Yeah,
you, sir.
yeah,
And we
absolutely.
appreciate your contribution to this country and the future of politics and war fighting. Hopefully.
Hey, I want to say thank
good
you.
luck on
Thank
your
you.
book and
I
everything.
want to be. I want to be another one of those people that just says thank you, man,
Well,
for what you did.
You're going to fall back on being a accountant. I mean,
will
I don't
never
see
be
you,
an accountant
Yeah, I
again.
don't see you being a CPA. That doesn't. Yeah. I don't
Not
see
me.
that.
My wife's got an accounting degree, and she's an artist.
Yeah.
She-
Good for her.
I said, you
I
never
support
want to do.
that
She
decision.
goes, I couldn't do that for a living. She goes, I don't know why I got an accounting
Yeah,
degree.
your wife and I are synced on that.
Yeah. Thanks for the sacrifice, man. I mean, and that's a lot of people, I'm sure, are going, thank you, man. You took the hit for a lot of people, but you made a change. You did.
Appreciate it.
And there's a lot of guys out there that are thinking like you now. Going, yeah, one day they're going to get the cojones and they're going to stand up and do the same thing.
Well,
Or
sometimes
they'll affect
leadership-
changes indirectly.
Leadership has to change up through like I
Yeah,
said,
you
through
gotta grow
time,
it.
and then you build that ability to weed out that old thinking.
Yeah.
That weaker
Yeah.
thinking. Hopefully.
Okay, so you all heard the book. Make sure you get this guy's book. Keep an eye out for it in the next, what would you say, 3-4 months?
Yeah, it'll be out into August, beginning of September.
And your website's AuthenticAmericans.com.
That's it.
Yeah, that's a great web. We were checking it out. It's a great website.
Yeah, I like it.
Appreciate
Going to look
you.
there shortly.
Yeah. All right. Former Marine Corps Lieutenant Colonel.
Damn, we got it right on the last one.
After the
All
fifth time. Yeah. Stuart Scheller.
Thanks, guys.
Hey, thanks for coming, man. All right, that's a wrap for Real Jacks with Jim, Larry, and Crawfish. And thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.